What up, Born Review Nation / Boring Land? Trying to get both gay band Nick's intro in there. We are going to be reviewing the romantic movie Veer, Zaara.
Now, this movie gets its title from the two main lead characters.
Yes.
Veer being played by our man SRK, and that's not really his full name in the movie. It's Squadron Leader Veer Pratap Singh. Very long name. They love to say the Squadron Leader part, which
Yes,
I get
they
it.
do.
That's his military office or his command or his title as a rescue.
Showing honor, respect.
Yeah, as a air rescue.
Yeah, going down from
Patrolman?
the helicopter.
And then, obviously, Zaara, her full name being played by Priti Zinta, is Zaara Hayat Khan. And then there's also another main character, the woman that plays the lawyer, played by Rani Mukherjee. And I did recognize her from my reaction, there we go, to Mardani 2. And she plays a character, Zamaya Siddiqui.
And I just have to say, she was absolutely beautiful. Her eyes just blew me away every time. I just want to steal her eyes. They're
Almost
awesome.
as cool as my eyes.
No, not even close.
Oh, wow. But yes, both women leads are obviously beautiful in this film. And when the movie started, I thought that Samaya, that character, was going to be Zaara because, it's just the first female lead we see in the movie. And then when she said her name was Samaya, I thought I was confused. So I did some digging to figure out what Veer meant and what Zaara meant, because I thought maybe they're not character names. They're actually words. And in one way or another, they both do mean brave. So I thought that was a very nice touch by the creators of this film to have both those lead characters with the name Brave. And they both are brave in this movie.
Yeah. No,
but
definitely.
You guys wanted Joey to do some more reviews. You wanted her to look at some romantic films because she complains about the action and the war. So here you have it.
I thought it was a very, very sweet romantic movie. I really liked it. I only had 2 complaints. I'm going to get them out of the way so then we can talk about all the good stuff.
Negativity.
I know. One thing I didn't care for was the fact that Zaara in the beginning she has this song that she's just going to be who she is. She's not going to wake up early. She's just like, this is me and deal with it. And she kind of appeared, forgive me, but a little bit like spoiled brat.
Yeah, she was definitely immature in that song.
She was immature. Her dad clearly has money. They have a beautiful, huge house. And so, her...
Palace,
Yeah. So, really, her personality fit the life she was living. But then when she goes and travels to India, I feel like she just, within a second, grew up, matured, bam. We never see that previous immaturity. So that was just one little issue I had. But again, I still love the movie. Just going to get these out. And then the other one was, I'm sure it's just a stylistic approach, but especially near the end, they had a lot of these staring off into the camera, sad moments. And just for me, and I know it's not in a lot of American films, so for me it was just a little bit over the top. I was like, okay, I get it. We're sad. It is heartbreaking. But other than that, I loved it. I truly loved the love that Veer and Zaara had for each other. I liked them getting to know her and how he's kind of automatically drawn to her. And then first she's just so worried about her backpack, but then she feels the need to go apologize.
Worried. She was freaking out.
She was freaking out. Hardcore. And I love how he puts her in her place when they land. You put us at risk.
Killed us there for a stinking bag.
Seriously. But then she, comes up and explains to him why it's important. And they have this journey. And I just, for him, at first, I wasn't quite sure. I thought, okay, love at first sight kind of a thing. He's just staring at her. But when he gets on the bus with her and he sits at the top and he's like, I saw this amazing seat you had, so I just thought I'd come join you. I loved him then. I was like, oh, I like this. And their journey they had and meeting his aunt, uncle kind of / adopted mom, dad. Exactly. I loved that. I loved the mom and dad relationship. They were hilarious.
Yeah, obviously the dad is played by Big B, Amitabh Bachchan, which is a big-time actor in India, huge time, we found out the wrong way a few months ago. And he, he's kind of like a secret drunk, or he's trying to sneak alcohol, and the wife doesn't want it. This
Gambling.
wife does not mess around at all. She puts him in his
hardcore.
place.
Yes.
But deep down, you can tell they love each other. And deep down, you can tell that the dad, that Big B's character, is very playful and lovable, and he loves his wife, and she's a little more strict and a little more no-nonsense type thing.
Oh my gosh, when she gave him back the stick.
Yeah, they did the whole ceremony.
Oh my I was like, she did not just do that. She threw it in the fire.
But I want to say their characters worked well together because a lot of times in love, opposites attract, right?
It's true.
So they did a good job of making these two characters opposite, and they were minor characters. They're not in the film for maybe more than 15% of it.
Yeah.
But it was long enough for them to make an impression, for them to become their own characters. And I think that's I always talk about characterization in films. It's one of my favorite parts of movies. It's what's going to draw me in and keep me interested. And this movie had great characterization. Even Zaara's family and those minor characters had great characterization. The only character I felt did not get too fleshed out too well was Minaj's character.
Shabab? Something like that.
Is that his name?
Oh, no. I was thinking of her friend.
Minaj is the actor's name.
Is that her fiance?
Yeah, her fiance.
Yeah.
Raza. And Raza, he, of course, he's from Gangs of Wasseypur. He's from Family Man that we should react to the trailer to. So when I saw him in this is a 2004, so he's much younger than we saw him in Gangs of Wasseypur. And I was like, is that him? Because, I mean, he looked a little more like for lack of a better term, had a little more baby fat on him, even though he wasn't fat at all. His face was just a little more filled out than it was in Gangs of Wasseypur.
A little younger looking.
He has his hair, obviously, but his character just wasn't fleshed out too well. And I get his motivation. He wanted Zaara to himself. He did not want to be humiliated by this guy that comes in out of nowhere, Veer.
And an Indian.
I mean, it was... Yeah, exactly.
Because they're from Pakistan.
Pakistani, India, exactly.
To have his fiance to leave him for her.
But that character for me was kind of out of place. I don't feel like Minaj did his best acting job in this role. It's a very small character, and obviously he redeems himself a million times plus in Gangs of Wasseypur. But I see what you're saying. Well, first of all, what else did you like about it?
So my favorite novel is Persuasion by Jane Austen. And the reason, there's a lot to love about different novels, but the reason I love it so much is it's this couple who loves each other, and she's persuaded. He proposes to her, and she's persuaded to turn him down. And after 8 years, they kind of come full circle and meet back up again. And they realize, long story in the end, after all the drama, that they still love each other. And I feel like that was presented a lot in this movie. I mean, you have Veer, who's in jail for 22 years, doesn't talk, doesn't say anything, to just save Zaara and not to humiliate her or her family. And then you end up finding out, and I kept telling Nick the entire time, I'm like, dude, she's going to be in India. She's going to be in India. So she's going to be waiting for him. And then when we found out,
she was saying that.
And then when we found out that, see, I did, thank you. The bus crashed and she thought he died. Then I was like, okay, for sure now. And then, so it was kind of cool to see that I don't want to say wasted, but he devoted 22 years of his life to save her. And then she devoted,
to protect her honor.
Yeah, which is huge. And then she devoted 22 years of her life for his dream, and not necessarily his dream, but his parents' dream, that he was going to honor, that she went and did. So I love that connection. Again, it's like that persuasion that love extends through time. You can still love somebody that you're that important to, that you are willing to give up everything else in your life for that one person.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying, because, let's face it, if you fall in love with someone, and I mean like really fall in love with someone, then are you going to be willing, after you don't have that person in your life, and after, as far as you know, they're getting married or whatever, are you still willing to wait 22 years? Not because she may come back, but just to honor her, or your entire life? I mean, that's a huge sacrifice. I would say most of us, probably myself included, would say that was a great relationship. That was a lot of fun, but I got to move on with my life.
Right.
And that's where I think the essence of this film, when you watch a movie, it doesn't matter where it was made. When you watch a movie, it has its own feel, its own theme, it has its own tone. And this film was kind of like, again, it was back in 2004, but it was kind of like a better made soap opera almost. It was over the top, it was theatrical, almost like a drama, like a play.
Yeah.
And I had no problem with that. Once you understand the tone of the movie, then you take it for what it is, and you judge it based off of that. For example, the Fast and Furious movies, those are over-the-top action pieces. Those are soap operas as well, in a different type. The whole lot of shoot 'em up, bang, bang. None of it's realistic, but you cannot judge it as a realistic, almost documentary-style action movie. You got to judge it for what it really is. And it was over the top. It was theatrical. Like she was saying, especially the last 40 minutes or so, those long stares off into the distance and those sadness. I mean, and I'm not making fun of it. that is the tone of this film, and it presented itself that way. It was more dramatic. And once you accept that, you're really able to appreciate this film, I feel like. I really enjoyed this movie a whole lot. I'm not a huge romantic guy, but I am not picky whatsoever. One of my favorite movies is The Notebook, and that's a romantic drama where it's not very happy-go-lucky throughout the movie, but I can appreciate good filmmaking, good acting, good characterization, and this movie had all of that. SRK, this is the second movie I've seen of his that we've reviewed here on the channel, and both of them, oddly enough, were 2004, so I'm already dialed into that 2004 SRK. I know he's been making a whole lot more movies since and before then, but he's such a charming guy, and I said this to her before we watched the movie. He's such a charismatic guy. He's a good-looking guy, and he presents himself kind of like in a, I don't want to say upper class, but a more professional way in his roles, and it really, I think, transcends through the film. So when he plays the character Veer on the screen, it's really easy to buy the kind of guy his character is because he just seems like that kind of guy.
Yeah.
What did you think of SRK?
Veer.
Yeah. Well, SRK is his acting name.
I liked him. I thought he did a good job. Again, at the beginning, I was like, okay, kind of learning about his past, not necessarily his past, but his job and what he does and everything. I think he did a really good job of playing somebody who's been in jail for 22 years who hasn't talked, because there's moments where he's kind of shaking and kind of
almost like he had like an early onset Parkinson's.
Yes, like he's having a hard time. But if you are isolated the entire time, not talking to anybody, that would be hard. I felt like for someone who has not talked for 22 years, he opened up to her so quickly. I like, though, that they did address it. And she said, if you haven't talked to anybody, why did you talk to me? And he's like, well, you called me by name and you respected me and stuff. So I like how they gave that full kind of loop swing. I like how he told the story, and then he's like, but that's just my side. Now we need to hear, Zaara's side. And so I like how we got that. For me, though, too, I love the romance, but I also like the other things that they kind of dived into this movie. They also spoke a lot about women and, in a sense, kind of having a chance for equality, about when Zaara was like, you need to have the school for girls here,
no
too.
School for girls? Why is that?
They had a school for boys, but he had said that they did have a school for girls, but just up to a certain age. And so it was supposed to be more for the older girls. So I kind of wish at the end they would have showed more older girls in school. I felt like we saw a lot of the younger girls.
I mean, correct us if I'm wrong, but I want to say she wanted to have a high school for girls.
Yes.
And it seemed like those girls were high school age.
Really?
Right?
I felt like they were much younger.
I don't know.
I felt like they were much younger.
Over that part, but
I do like the turnaround. But yes, I kind of just wish they had a little bit older. But I love how she was for that. And then you had the woman lawyer, and how not a lot of women had a profession.
Case, she was her own lawyer. Yes, She left that big shot guy to do her own little thing, and
I liked how he was a jerk to her. I mean, I like how he was like, nope, I'm not going to give in. I'm not going to pity. I'm not going to be easy on you. And at the end, he was like, yeah, you taught me a big lesson. Because it ended up showing that Veer wasn't this guy he's fighting, saying he was Rajesh.
And then he just retires after that. Again, this is a movie that it's not high in the fact that it's over the top. And if you accept that, then those kind of the fact that he hasn't talked for 22 years and all of a sudden he starts talking, you don't worry about that, because you understand, at least in my opinion, I understood that the filmmaker was trying to illustrate the point that their love is a big deal. That him not talking for 22 years, is it conceivable? Probably not. But in the story, that's what happened, so that we can get our understanding. We can figure out how this lawyer is different than anyone else who kind of just didn't even try and toss him aside. And when you're watching this movie, you're trying to figure out, what did he go to jail for? I mean, did he kill someone?
Oh my gosh, 100%.
He is
the
such
entire
a nice
time.
guy.
I'm like,
squadron leader. There's no way he committed murder.
Well, I thought, when he had talked about, so when he said that he was part of the Air Force, like, he had to quit his job and be done. He could never have his job again once he quit.
Yeah.
That to me seemed, for somebody just to be like, okay, I'm going to quit. I'm going to go for this girl who might not even accept me. That was amazing. Like, that's devotion right there, because that's kind of hard to give up your entire life, your entire career for some girl that you've spent.
I mean, doesn't this guy have leave of absence, or doesn't he have like vacation days or something?
It's got to be something along the lines of the fact that he's going back to Pakistan.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. But the one thing I did like is everything came full circle. I mean, the fact that Zaara's back in India, you get that at the very beginning, where his parents are telling her, we love you. You're kind of one of our own. Always come back. She does feel like a very relationship. She asks the aunt, "Can I call you mom?" I mean, I felt like him not talking, they wrapped it back again with him saying, well, because you called my name. The fact that he's put in jail, they wrap it up again with her fiance. I mean, I feel like everything came full circle. They even said what happened to Zaara and the husband. Like, he just kind of went off,
adios,
divorced,
going somewhere else,
went
my career.
overseas. Yeah. I wish he would have told her, I put your, man in jail, like,
what
out of spite so she could find out.
He puts him in jail, he leaves him there, and he doesn't even stay with the girl.
But again, it makes sense because he says either you're going to pay or she's going to pay. Yeah. So this is his way of making him pay. Hey, we divorced, but you're still paying.
Still ruthless, though.
100%. But I just like how everything, I felt like there weren't very many plot holes. I like that.
This movie is over 3 hours, which I'm proud of her for watching it.
We did watch it in increments, I will say.
But I've always liked a longer movie. I really have. If I have the time, I love to sit and spend more time with these characters because unless you're going to get a sequel, which most of those aren't planned, you're not going to revisit these characters again.
Yeah.
And if they're characters that you care about, which I did, then I like how it's longer and you can get those details. I feel like if they cut it to a 2-hour movie, you wouldn't get a lot of the conversation between the lawyer and the prisoner. But you need that so that you can believe their connection and their relationship. I believe you wouldn't get a lot of background information on the lawyer's boss, the fancy lawyer.
Yep.
But you need that because I feel like in Indian films, they don't just tell one story, they tell a few different stories, and they tell them completely, and all those stories mix up together for one movie. And then, of course, you have the music and you have the dance. I really liked the music in this movie. Jodie had mentioned that the female singing voice, that high-pitched, common device with music where it had the female voice that high. Please give us more information on that.
Yeah.
Because it seems like it's almost like the same singer's voice.
That's what we were talking about.
In all of these movies.
Are very similar. Yeah, because at least in America, a lot of our actors do their own singing.
And if they don't, then they find someone that sounds almost just like them. Sometimes they don't, and it's not even close.
Yeah, but oftentimes they tend to do their own singing. And I think maybe we're just like lower pitched because some do sing high, but not often. It's usually more of
it doesn't even seem like a natural voice.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously it's cultural, but we're just curious, is that something that the Indian audience prefers? As, for example, if they go into a movie and they don't hear that high-pitched female voice in a song, riots do they ensue? Like, are they very mad about that? But
because it tends to be in just like almost every movie, so there's not like a range. Yeah, the ones that we've seen.
The ones I've watched sometimes, and she's listening to it, and
yeah, because usually you would think just with different people, there's different ranges. Not everybody sings at that same pitch level. That's basically what we're saying. It seems like it's a very similar pitch level for each movie.
But I did like the music. I liked the dancing. I really liked the one where they had the celebration, the whole festa, the ceremony
in their village.
SRK's got his little dance going on, and Zaara's joining in. I really liked the part where he's like, okay, I've seen your land, I've seen this or that. Now I want to take you to my land, spend one day with me.
Yes.
And it worked out perfectly where it was a day of that ceremony and that little celebration.
Oh my goodness. And the way you meet the parents, I love that. He is married. Oh my gosh, he is not married.
He married, he didn't tell us anything. We're going to kill this kid. He's like beating him. He's like, how dare you?
I know.
He's like, what?
I was like, oh my goodness.
Just a friend.
Well, I had to laugh because I was like, man, they talk fast. Word spreads like they didn't even get to the house before everybody knew or thought they knew.
It's a small little community.
Yeah.
It seems like in the little town that almost like the dad had founded basically and was building up and whatever. But I mean, all of that was awesome. I like so much of this film. The theatrics were fine. It didn't bother me too much. Like I said before, they presented it that way, and I was fine with that. I felt like the court part, and I love a good court drama, but I feel like the court scenes in this movie for some reason just kind of seemed out of place. That whole part just definitely took me out of the film. I was really into it to hear Veer and Zaara's story and to have Samaya's in there and everything. But when it got to that, for some reason, it kind of just slowed things down for me. Like you, I kind of liked the whole thing of, I'm just kind of jumping around, but SRK's like, when he was a prisoner, I loved his long hair, the old dirty hair and his beard or whatever. I thought that was cool. There was parts of the court that I liked, don't get me wrong. Like, especially when the guard testified at how good of a guy prisoner 786, whatever his number was, is. That was nice. But I don't know. Did the court bother you at all or no?
Not at all. I actually kind of thought it was interesting. Like, in America, the judge wears a black robe. But in the court there, all the lawyers did, and the judge didn't. So I thought that was kind of an interesting, cultural change, but just to see the opposite. No, it didn't bother me at all. I actually felt like it was very similar to our court system. You have your witnesses.
Not that it was similar or different, but it's just in this movie where so much is about their connection. And I get it. You have to have that so that when she does come back as a witness to save him, spoiler alert, then it has to be in the court.
Now
but I don't know.
That's the one part that threw me off because he walks like obviously he feels like she's there. He can sense something's going on, but he literally walks past their table like almost as if he's leaving. I don't know about here, but here, if somebody did that, like if one of our
bailiff, get after him right now. Why
he's running away. I mean, he would never get that far. Like nobody seemed to notice. Yeah. Not even the people sitting in the chairs witnessing or watching. So that part did take me off. It'd take me out. I'd be like, okay, somebody's going to be like, whoa, why is he walking? At least have him just at the table turning around and looking. And then one other part that did kind of take me out is when he's folding the paper airplanes. I get that he's a helicopter pilot, but he's very educated. He's very professional. Would he really be folding paper airplanes at his court day of possibly being released from jail?
I don't think he was expected to be released out of jail.
No, and I kind of like that too. At the end, the whole time the lawyer is determined to get him out. She owes this to her father. She's going to make him proud. And then she's like, this is not going to work. It's just not going to happen. You can tell she just feels deflated. But you're right. He's kind of just like, yeah, just keep bringing me those sweets.
He had accepted it long before when he went in there. He wasn't going to talk. He wasn't going to implicate Zaara in any way. He wasn't going to embarrass her. He told the lawyer, my one condition is you do not contact her. You do not contact the family. You don't mention her at all. This is not part of it. I did love, obviously, when they did get reconnected and how it kind of went back and forth from how they looked back then and how they looked now to kind of, and for me, that was illustrating that their love was still there no matter what.
Where if we're going to be over the top, just make him young again.
Yeah.
Give him back those 22 years because that just broke my heart that they both missed out on 22 years. I mean, 8 years in persuasion stinks, but 22 years. It's a long time.
But I felt like the chemistry between the lawyer and SRK was a little more authentic than the chemistry between Veer and Zaara. And, I mean, for a movie where you have a romantic film, you want the chemistry of those two leads to be top-notch. They're not always going to be top-notch. But I felt like there was times where I was somewhat struggling to believe that they were going to end up together or that they liked each other a whole lot as much as they were portraying. I felt like the first 2 acts of this film were extremely interesting, extremely engaging, very, very strong. I felt the last act was a little weaker than the first 2. And that's the other complaint I have, where in a film like this, where, all of that trouble, all of that tragedy is going to be worth it at the end, and it's going to pay off. And it did pay off to a certain degree, but it just didn't pay off the way I wanted to. I'm not sure why that was. Maybe it was because the chemistry was off a little bit. I don't know. Maybe the over-the-top factor kind of kicked up a notch near the end some more. But the thing I really liked about this movie is as I'm watching it, it's reminding me, I'm not sure if this was on purpose at all, but it was reminding me a lot of like a 1930s, 1940s American film, that era of American film where you have films like It's a Wonderful Life and Sound of Music and Wizard of Oz, those kind of classic films. This movie remind me a lot of that, just in the dialogue and the simple, props and set pieces they were in, where it wasn't these elaborate drawbacks, but, I mean, in some places were, obviously. Indian films are going to have a lot of beautiful colors and flowers and all that kind of stuff. But it was more about the dialogue, and it was more about the conversation. And in films today, we don't have a lot focused just on dialogue. There are some, but not a lot. And so I really, really like that. But are you ready to grade?
Well, I was going to say, when you said Sound of Music, that took me back to the very beginning of the movie when he's walking in that field. And it's totally like Sound of Music when she's singing on the hills.
Yeah.
But, that place was beautiful. Wherever he lived was awesome. There was all that greenery and the water and everything.
She was like, this is India?
I know. I was like, wow.
And after our Geography Now video, obviously we learned that more in the northern parts, south of the mountains, is a lot of lush greenery. And then when you get farther south to the mid-south, you have more of the desert.
We're in the desert. That's all we see is 23 shades of beige. So we get it.
All right. So grades. What do you grade this movie?
I liked it. I'm giving it an A. It was good.
I liked it.
Just an A. I don't want to go higher. So sorry. Just because some of the
A is pretty high.
It is, but I mean like not an A plus. Just because some of the over the top parts, especially the end, like the long looks on. If for me personally, I would just like to exit some of that. Just scrunch it up, tighten it up, and move on. But I love the idea of having just a romance that lasts. It's not just fleeting. You don't see somebody else and just move on. You're willing to risk your life.
Yeah, that's good. I am going to grade this as a B plus.
Of course.
And the reason why is, again, romance. I mean, we all have our own tastes, our own palates, if you will. Romance is not the top of mine, but I really did enjoy this movie. That third act, for whatever reason, it just wasn't as cohesive. It kind of took me out a little bit at times. The chemistry wasn't as strong, and so that brought it down a little bit. But I loved all the extra information that we got in this movie. I loved the first two acts. It was very, very intriguing for me. It kept my attention. SRK was great in this, and so were the other characters and the other actors. But I'm going to give this a B+. Let us know what you think. Let us know when it comes to either romance films or just films in the early 2000s. Where does this rank for you? Here at Boring Reviews, we would love your support by giving us some
likes
and
subscribes
and checking out our Patreon page to kind of help Shawnee and Arjit kind of hold up the fort and help Boring Reviews out any ways you can. But we got more reviews and more reactions and more cultural videos and more cricket videos coming on the channel soon. But until next time.
Goodbye.